If you hear Mars crew size, it can sound like a simple planning question. It is not. NASA's update says the real issue is whether a crew can keep the mission safe and productive when Earth is too far away to help in time. That changes the frame. On the ISS, ground teams act like an extended crew. On Mars missions, that support model breaks down because communication can be delayed by up to 22 minutes one way, with blackouts that can last weeks. So the question is no longer just how many seats are on the vehicle. It is how much workload, judgment, training, and recovery capacity the onboard crew must carry themselves. That matters now because an ASA is trying to build an evidence-based way to trade crews' odds against mission architecture, operations, and safety instead of relying on rough assumptions. The article is really about a new human factors toolbox. An AS, as human factors team, says it wants to influence design early, using science-based knowledge about human performance from spaceflight and other safety-critical industries. The method is systematic and quantitative. It gathers mission concepts, picks use cases, builds a trade space framework, runs human performance models, and then iterates as assumptions change. That matters because past Mars crew size decisions often did not include detailed quantitative analysis of tasking, workload, and expertise. This work adapts a Department of Defense manpower methodology, but pushes it into a Mars context where autonomy and failure response matter much more. The goal is not to produce one magic number for the right crew size. The goal is to give decision makers a repeatable way to ask whether a given crew can actually complete the mission and handle failures that could threaten crew or mission loss. One of the clearest findings comes from an ESS model of intravehicular support for a Mars surface EVA. It looked at the mental workload of the crew member inside the vehicle who would have to support the astronauts outside, while also taking on functions that mission control supports during ISS EVAs today. The result was straightforward. If a Mars technical EVA runs at the pace of an ISS EVA, the IV crew member's workload becomes unacceptably high when those essential duties are combined. In plain terms, the current Earth-assisted EVA model does not transfer cleanly to Mars. NASA says that means mission planners may need to slow the pace of EVAs, automate more of the support work, or increase the onboard support crew. This is a useful example of the broader point once Earth is out of the loop. Operational designs that seem familiar can become unsafe under Mars conditions. The transit phase shows a similar pattern. NAS modeled the 9-month Mars transit and shifted planned and unplanned tasks from ground control to the crew, using ISS equivalent task assumptions. The result suggests that more than 6 crew members would be needed to match the same number of work hours as a 4-person ISS mission. That is a striking comparison, not because an ASA is declaring a final Mars crew number, but because it shows how expensive Earth independence is in human workload terms. Another model looked at robotic arm operations on a Mars transit vehicle and found manual control could push workload high enough that the crew members may be needed. It also showed that sleek debt raises workload, hurts performance, and stretches task time. So crew sizing is not just about covering a nominal task list. It is also about protecting margin when fatigue, anomalies, and manual operations start stacking on top of each other. The real change here is methodological. NASA is moving the Mars crew discussion away from intuition and toward a trade space built around workload, expertise, training, and resilient performance. The expertise model may be the sharpest example. Using ISS historical data, NASA estimated that the probability of at least one unforeseen transit failure with serious crew or mission consequences is greater than 99%. That does not mean disaster is inevitable. It means crews must be prepared to respond successfully to rare but critical events without real-time help and without a fast return home. What still noises any attempt to turn this article into one definitive headline number for the correct Mars crew. The source does not do that. It argues for evidence-based decisions that evolve with mission assumptions, technology, and operational concepts. That is more useful, and honestly more realistic, than pretending crew's eyes can be solved in isolation.